What's up, guys? It is a rainy day in Vicenza, but that doesn't even matter because I have some incredible news. It was totally unexpected. This weekend, I am going to be racing Enduro. I thought there was no chance. With COVID and everything else this year, all the races were canceled. I didn't think I was gonna get to race hardly at all, except for EWS, maybe late in the fall because some of the races had been pushed back. But randomly, 2 days ago, I got a Facebook ad for a race that's happening in northeastern Italy. It's called the Krivapete Enduro. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's near San Leonardo, which is on the Italian and Slovenia border. And I am pumped. I can't even put into words how excited I am for this race. So really happy to be able to share it with you guys. But I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous about this. This will be my first race that I've ever done in Italy. I've never raced here before. I've only raced in the United States, a little bit of enduro, some cross country, like 1 or 2 downhill races here or there. Racing in Italy is entirely different than in the United States. You're required to have a medical certificate, so you have to go and visit a doctor's office here in Italy. And once you do the sports physical, they check to make sure that you're healthy enough to race and that you're able and capable and all that jazz. Got that taken care of, and then also to fill out some other forms. In addition to that, they usually want you to be a part of a team so that you can have an FCI registration number or a license for racing. I don't have that. I'm not currently a part of a team in Italy. But with that being said, I saw that for this particular race, they had a 1-day license option. So I did that, paid an extra €10. That way I could do the race and everything. So for this event, I want to teach you all how to prepare for an enduro race. This applies to all enduros, whether it be the highest level EWS, the Enduro World Series, all the way down to your local grassroots racing organizations. They all function in the exact same format. Generally speaking, they don't release the course until sometime before the race. Usually it'll be a couple weeks. If they're feeling really nice, they'll release it a month in advance. But the purpose for this is so that all the local riders can't go out there and take advantage of it and get all the laps in and learn the course and everything. And it kind of levels the playing field so that everyone only has 1 or 2 weekends of an opportunity to go practice before race day. Once they release the stages, you want to be sure to study the course. Learn it well, find maps, see if you can find any information on Trailforks or Mountain Bike Project or another app out there that's used for trails. Learn the elevation and descent with on the trail and the stage. It gives you a really good idea of what to expect going into the race. And if possible, you can even look around to see if there's any videos out there. In this particular case, I tried to find some. There wasn't a whole lot that I could see, but the event did release 1 or 2 teaser videos to get everyone hyped up and amped for the event. So from what I saw, I'm not too worried about the trails being overly difficult. I saw a lot of dirt that looks really nice and sticky, tacky, fun to ride, and then a few kind of rock gardens and rocks and awkward technical sections scattered about here and there, but nothing too gnarly or crazy. It did seem narrow though. Some of the trails looked really narrow and tight, and in addition to that, it looked like there was a lot of trees that you may have to weave in and out of and navigate through, especially with a long wheelbase 29er long travel enduro bike similar to what I ride. It could make things a little bit interesting. That being said, I did find the 3 trails on Trailforks, stage 1, 2, and 3. So stage 1 is a trail called Bunker. It's 1.6 kilometers in length, and it's a 365-meter descent. Trailforks rates it as a double black. However, I was able to find this trail and watch a video of it. At least for what I saw in the video, nothing about it really seemed overly difficult, and I definitely wouldn't be rating it as a double black. Now, moving on to stage 2, that is Clastra. It's 1.3 kilometers in length, 220 meters, and it's rated as a black. There was a comment about it being very difficult. For this particular trail, I was not able to find a video online. The good news is, for you guys, as you know, once I go race it, I'm obviously going to be posting up videos from the race weekend. And in addition to that, I'm going to highlight each trail. That way everybody can see what stages we were racing on, and you can go check the trails out for yourself if you're ever interested in the future. By the way, with that being said, if you happen to be racing this weekend, leave a comment down below, let me know, and hopefully we can meet up this weekend. I look forward to meeting you. Now, moving on, back to stage 3. So stage 3 is a trail called Trivio. It's 1.6 kilometers in length. It's a 400 kilometer descent, and it's red, which in the United States, red trail is the equivalent of a blue. So it should be pretty straightforward. It shouldn't be overly difficult or anything like that. I did find a rider that shared this trail on YouTube, and it looked like it had quite a bit of pedally sections, especially from the start. There was a lot of kind of uphill looking trail and flat terrain. So it'll be stage 3 by that point, with practicing on Saturday and then racing on Sunday. Legs are probably going to be feeling it, might be a little bit tired. So get to top things off with an all-out sprint in order to try to get through those climbing sections as quickly as possible. Always got to keep it interesting. After all, that is the spirit of enduro racing. So yeah, as I mentioned, this weekend, the race format is Saturday is practice and Sunday is going to be race day. I did see on the registration that it's possible Saturday there will be shuttles. If so, that could make things a lot easier and a lot easier on the legs, so that way you're not climbing up and trying to get through the whole weekend. Next thing you know, you did 10,000 feet over the weekend because you're trying to get all these laps in. It really wears you out before race day. So it is important to have that balance when you're preparing for an enduro race, and that while you're practicing, you're keeping that in mind. You want to have as fresh of legs as possible when it comes to race day. Speaking of being best prepared for racing, I wasn't planning on racing this weekend. So as many of you know, I'm training for EWS 100 in Zermatt at the end of August. I know I've said it a million times, but I've been training, so I've been riding like crazy, and I was planning on crushing my legs this week. Between Wednesday and Friday, I was going to be riding a bunch, riding in the morning. Wednesday, Thursday morning, got out for 2-hour rides. I was going to be riding during lunchtime, even riding in the evening. Well, I found out about the race after my ride Wednesday morning, so naturally I realized I have to dial it back a bit. I want to make sure I've got legs, so that way I can participate well in the race this weekend. Okay, now that you know to analyze the course, next we want to make sure that your gear is properly prepped for the weekend. But before we get to that, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm racing EWS in Zermatt in August. I ride new trail locations all throughout Italy and Europe, really all around the world, but COVID's kind of been stopping me from doing that. So if you're enjoying what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow me along on the journey. All right, so now back to gear. When it comes to gear, first things first, check the weather report for the weekend. See what it looks like. If it's going to be colder, obviously make sure you're prepped accordingly. It's always a good idea to toss a rain jacket in the car just in case the forecast changes. And then, of course, you need all your riding gear. So I always recommend wearing a full face when you're racing enduro. It just makes sense. Usually you're riding on unfamiliar trails. You're pushing yourself a little bit harder than you may be used to. And on top of that, you just never know when something might happen. So I wear a Fox Pro frame. I love it. It's super light. It breathes incredibly well. I don't really notice too much of a difference compared to my normal half shell helmet that I'm wearing now, and it's really great for enduro racing. In addition to my helmet, I also wear my G-form knee pads and I wear elbow pads. I want to make sure that you keep everything protected and safe. It really sucks when you crash and you end up getting road rash or just banging up your body and getting a bruise, like a nasty bone bruise that really hurts if you put it on anything or you bend it wrong or anything like that. So pads just help so much when it comes to recovery time. By the way, just in case some of you out there don't know, you may see pros riding and oftentimes they got their long sleeve jersey and pants on and you're just like, oh, they're fine, they don't have pads or anything. I promise you, pretty much all of them, they're hiding pads under their gear, and there's nothing wrong with that. It looks cooler, there's no doubt about it, but you just want to make sure you always got your pads on, because just like the pros, they don't want to have any downtime while they're trying to recover because of a silly crash. Once you know the trail and your gear is set, you want to give your bike a general inspection. Now, for me, let's just say I wasn't really planning on racing enduro this weekend. I was coming off my road trip to Trivio Bike Park and Finale Ligure, riding a bunch, and my bike needs some love right now. It's not really in racing condition. I was planning on getting everything done before EWS, and I've kind of been putting it off and still just kind of getting by, riding it as is. Well, I'm gonna have to get ready for the weekend. My rear tire currently is super worn out. I've got fraying cables on my bike, especially to my rear derailleur. Fortunately, it's still shifting just fine, and my dropper post is slow to rise right now. Probably just needs me to increase the PSI, put some more air in the post, and then I'll be good to go. When I head to races or I'm going on a road trip, heading to bike parks, I always bring some spare parts with me, as well as plenty of tools. I always want to make sure that I'm ready and that I've got what I need just in case. So I always make sure I got my tire pump, I bring some tire levers, I bring spare tires, I bring a tube, which reminds me, I don't think I have a tube, so I need to track that down so I can have one with me for this race. But then I also do have tire plugs with me, so with the tubeless system, if I get a flat or anything like that, I can shove a tire plug in there and it'll help to seal it with the sealant. I bring a spare set of brake pads just in case I need them. I bring master links for the chain in case I break a chain, need to put it back together. Also, that's a good point. You want to make sure that you've got a chain breaker tool with you while you're racing, just in case you need to take your chain apart for any reason or take off some broken links. I've got that stored with my 1-up tool that's in my fork tube. And last but not least, I also bring a brake rotor tool. That way, if I bend a brake rotor or anything like that, I can try to get it back into place best as possible. As I mentioned, there's a chance of rain this weekend. I'm gonna try to make my rear tire last and get me through the weekend, because I'm hoping to put a fresh one on right before EWS. But with the rain, we'll see if the trails are wet or anything like that. I'll just swap my tire on the spot when I get to the event and get that taken care of so that we're ready to roll. But for today, that's going to be it. That's all I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed this surprise video on a Friday. I know it's not when I typically upload. I couldn't go any longer without sharing the news. I'm so pumped and excited to race this weekend. I can't say it enough. I've probably said it a million times in this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tell me where to ride next.